We are upon hurricane season here in New Orleans, across the entire Gulf Coast for that matter. And everybody I know, having lived through Hurricane Katrina, everybody I know at some point was fighting with their insurance company over their claim. And as you're looking down what's coming, how do you protect yourself so that you can actually get what you're owed if you have to make a claim? Well, there's a way to do that, and we're going to unpack how to do that going into hurricane season. Jonathan Frazier here, he's the founder of Forefront 360, and his company helps us do that. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ewell.
Yeah, glad to have you. Now, you've been in New Orleans about 3.5 years. What brought you to New Orleans?
Well, to start the company, my two co-founders and partners, they've been working every major disaster here since the Great Flood of 93. Yeah, so they've spent a large part of their professional careers working disasters and stuff in Louisiana specifically. So they've been down here dealing with all this stuff on the back end of things.
Are they
And
from here? Are they from here?
no, they're originally from Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Wow.
they've spent many years here for work. But
You just, you
that's what
just,
brought me here.
you
So they
just,
got me involved.
man, you just struck a chord with me because the first crisis, flood, whatever you would call it, that I experienced was 93. My wife then girlfriend had an apartment. I had an apartment. I went to bed at 10 o'clock. She called me at 11 to tell me my car is probably flooded. I'm like, there's no way. And
Yeah.
sure enough, I go outside. The sky has fallen, and there's 3 feet of water in my parking lot, and there's my Honda and 2 more foreign cars, and all 3 of them, it was bizarre. The water's up to the lights on the cars. The lights turned on and the fans were running.
Yeah.
It sounded like a motorboat, and all 3 of the cars, all the Japanese cars were flooded. And then, along with everybody else. But I'll never forget the fan running. So yeah, now you're here in New Orleans. You've been here about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Let's say your business partner or somebody's coming to town to take them out to eat to close the deal. Where are you taking them?
It's a really good question because, I've been here for only about 3.5 years or so, and I'm still trying places. Like I'm still finding places that you could probably eat here all your life and not have everything and keep finding things that are great. I found hole in the wall places that are incredible, just all kinds of options. So it's actually a big challenge is to pick a place to eat.
What's your favorite hole in the wall place?
So, kind of a random thing. I used to live right downtown, right in CBD,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this little, like a dive bar. What was it called? Cajun Mike's or something?
Okay.
Little tiny dive bar right across the street from the Roosevelt. And I found out that they had some food in there. I was like hungry one night, didn't have anything to eat, so I went in there, and there was an older lady in the back of the kitchen cooking up like gumbo and
Yeah.
jambalaya and stuff like that. And I got it. It was some of the best I'd had in the city.
You
I was
know,
like, I did not expect this.
that's probably the right answer because people ask me my background with the seafood industry. People always ask me, "What's the best seafood place?" And I always had to be agnostic when I was in that role with the seafood, leading the seafood industry. And now I'm glad to say my favorite place is GW Finn's, but you don't have to go to a fancy place like GW
Yeah.
Finn's. It's all the hole in the walls around the city
Yeah. It's
that
all
are
about that one
so
cook, finding that one
that's
person that can.
that's right. All right, let me switch gears again because there's a lot to be grateful for living in New Orleans. But who or what are you grateful for who helped you get you where you are right now?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's got to come back to my parents. I mean, the support over the years. I mean, I couldn't have done any of the things I've done in my life. Their support, or it would have been a million times more difficult without them. And that's one reason why I'm going to go see them in a few days.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's important. Keep those ties for sure for law. Yeah,
Mhm.
for your whole life. All right, let's unpack a little bit about what you do, how you got into it. You saw a problem in the marketplace, enough of it such that you decided to move to New Orleans. What got you? Well, what is it you saw? What said I'm going to make a business with this? And what was the spark that got you going?
So again, it kind of comes back to my partner. So they were down here working. Was it Laura and Delta? Was it Laura Delta and Zeta that hit almost back to back? Hit Lake Charles really hard,
Yeah.
devastated them. So they were here, I think, for a couple years working with that, and then Ida hit. So right after Ida, they asked me to come. So they were working on the back end of things. So they were being expert witnesses, helping property owners and stuff, on whenever they would have to go to litigation or something. So they'd come in, just document things, provide third-party estimates, and just kind of give them the information they needed to go fight for it. They had this idea because of what they were doing. Everything was so reactionary that they were thinking, man, if we just had some of this information before something ever happened, we wouldn't need to go through this mess that we're going through now. So they got me involved to help with establishing the business and building that out. And then, that's what ultimately brought me here and why I'm where I'm at today.
What was your background before? It was just
I came right from aviation safety.
of course.
Yeah,
that makes the perfect sense.
We audited business private jet operators to
Wow.
make sure they're operating safely. Companies all over the world.
And that naturally leads to insurance deal, fighting with insurance, how to prevent. What is it you do? Tell us if you had to succinctly say what it is you all do. What is it? I'm gonna share what my take is, having gone
Yeah.
through this stuff, dealing with insurance companies.
There's two parts. The first part is collecting and gathering data and information on property. We come to the property, work with the property owner to create a specialized profile of that property. And that includes a lot of things from dimensions and imaging to ages of things and a very specific set of information that is what is necessary for, first of all, making sure you have for shopping for insurance, making sure you have proper coverage. And then most importantly, when you have that claim process, it makes sure that claim is handled quickly and efficiently, and therefore your settlement is more accurate. And then it can help on the repair side of things because you have the information you need to work with contractors to get those repairs started and create some accountability and transparency throughout that process because people don't know their property. They do not know the information they need to know on their property. That's the data side of it. So we do that. And there's another part where we can help on the back end as far as consulting. If you do have a claim, you have questions, you want someone to manage the claim for you or just walk you through the whole process or just look at it and make sure everything is going correctly, that the estimates are correct, things like that. We can also help. We have a division that specifically focuses on the back end of things. And the two together is what creates the most accuracy throughout the entire insurance process is those two working together. You don't need to necessarily use the back one because the data, just having that information up front is going to make the process more efficient.
Okay. So let's put this let's dissect the mistakes or the things that homeowners don't do. And then we'll come back to what it is you do to mitigate and help set the homeowner up, or the business for that matter, up for success might be the wrong way, to be prepared should they have to make a claim. They've got everything that they need. The most obvious things you see people just miss.
Well, the one thing is, and we've kind of been led to believe that when we get insurance with a company that they have our best interests at heart, that they're going to do everything they can to make sure everything works out the way we think it's supposed to work out. But that's not really the case. They're necessarily out to do bad, but if they are a business, they're going to do their best to mitigate their risks. And we're entrusting them with this, and we're not doing anything on our side. There's no due diligence on the property owner's side or the policyholder side. We're like, we get coverage, okay, take care of me, hands off, and then you wait for a claim to happen before you do anything else. So that is the biggest issue. A policy is a two-party contract. There's due diligence that has to be done on both sides of that. They're assessing their risk. The insurance providers, they're spending millions of dollars a year to assess their risks for insuring us as policyholders. How much are we spending to make sure, on our due diligence to prepare in case there is a claim or understanding our policy or our coverage, all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
We're just paying for our coverage and sitting back and waiting for a claim.
We think we're okay, and Man, as you're describing that, there's this a vivid image I have after Katrina. Allstate was terrible after Katrina. I mean, they were awful. So bad. One of the houses along the 17th Street Canal, if people don't remember what that is, that's one of the big levee breaks, one of the two or three big levee breaks that we had. And this house put up a bat. They were further down the street. They didn't lose their entire house, so they still had a structure to put something up. And they put a bat up, calling out Allstate, and it was the size of their house. So
Yeah.
they wanted to draw attention how badly Allstate had screwed them.
Mhm.
And so what you're saying is we need to do better. We need to do better due diligence on what the insurance policy states, and then we're going to
Yeah.
unpack what you do in a minute on how to better prepare ourselves. What's
Yeah.
the next?
And,
What's
and,
yeah,
and I'm not necessarily saying all insurance companies are bad or that
no,
everything they do is wrong or they're out to get you.
no,
Especially when you think of a major disaster like Katrina, everyone is overwhelmed. Insurance companies, homeowners, everyone. They can't keep this workforce just standing by waiting for this massive disaster to happen and then have enough people to deal with that huge event. And that's
yeah.
where they're training people really quickly, getting them out in the field, and that's
uh,
where errors start happening.
It's
And you start having issues, and it's delays and so on. It just starts compounding and things just get worse and worse and worse. That's
and
why it's so important to be prepared.
you know, my chairman of my board, he had $900,000. He has a seafood distributorship here. I talked about this on a podcast a few days ago, and his freezers, obviously went down with last big hurricane that hit here. He had $900,000 worth of product, you know, and he had to fight for a couple of years, and he got a fraction. Well, he got some of it,
Yeah.
but he got a fraction of what he probably should have got. What's the next big thing you see?
As far as on the policyholder side, or
The policy. What are the other big areas you see people missing? Like me as a consumer, what would I miss? What's something common?
so there's kind of five main things.
Okay.
So first of all, being underinsured, making sure you're properly insured. So many things affect your coverage from inflation.
Mhm.
It's just there's so many things that can impact that. So you really need to make sure you have proper coverage. Not only does that end up hurting you, but it can ultimately lead to increased premiums down the road. If everyone is underinsured, that means the insurance companies are losing out on premiums. And when they realize they're losing out on premiums, and then we have a major disaster, major hurricane, and there's tons of claims, now the insurance company has to try to compensate for all that lost revenue.
Mhm.
And what do? They increase premiums even more. So that's, making sure you can rebuild or repair your property. That's the first and
Mhm.
foremost, the most important thing. Aside from that, we've touched on several things. Do you need flood insurance? Are you in I mean, if you're in the New Orleans area, you likely need flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Do you need it? Do you have it? Is it enough?
And that
Things like
really
that.
applies anywhere in the country now, it seems, because the people in
Yeah, it's like,
Asheville was in the mountains. We're not thinking
yeah,
about floods, and it was cheap. It was only
yeah,
two when Katrina hit. It was $250 a year to have
yeah,
flood insurance, and people didn't have it. Yeah.
yeah. One of the biggest issues and the biggest tips is make sure you're shopping for insurance every year. There's the misconception that the longer you stay with your insurance company, that it's gonna you're gonna have better deals. They're gonna treat you better. That loyalty is going to loyalty is going to guarantee you lower rates. That is not the case. It's a 12-month partnership relationship. So shop insurance. I mean, insurance is always going to start increase. Is it going to increase 2% or is it going to be 7%? But if you're just staying with the same insurance company, it may be increasing at 5 to 6% when you could go find another carrier that gives it, and it's only 3% higher than it would have been if you stayed with your own carrier.
Right.
Perfect example. Finally did what I preach. I have my car insurance. So I just get it and I forget about it, and it's just auto pay. So I never have
Yeah.
to worry about it. And just recently it came up and I was like, man, I should look around. I looked around and I saved myself $100 a month
Yeah.
by
I got.
changing
I,
insurance companies. It's like, man, I should have done this a long time ago.
I'm about to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Any other key things we missing here before we jump into what you do? Because what you do is unique. and will help certainly mitigate issues should you have to make a claim.
Yeah, making sure you understand your policy. Talk to your agent, talk to your broker. Just make sure you have a decent understanding of what is covered. If you need anything else, anything like that, don't wait until there's a claim to do that because they're going to be
It's too late
overwhelmed,
by
and
that
it's
point,
just
too.
the worst way to do it.
Yeah.
No, I think that was it. I was kind of looking at my list, but I think we've touched on it.
Okay, so let me describe what I think I understand you to do. We both you and I belong to a networking group here in New Orleans, and that's how we got to know each other. You provide a service where you come in and you can scan a building or a house, and you can talk about the technology you use to do that. And it creates basically like an inventory of the house of everything that would be touched by an insurance policy that you can document to show you have proof of something, where you showed the map of a job you had done. And on that map, it was more than just for the insurance of making the claim. It was also for forecasting issues with the house, maybe, or if I'm saying
Yeah,
that properly.
that one was specifically it was like a safety emergency type floor plan map for that property.
Okay, let's come back and talk to that because that's a unique proposition right there in and of itself, and how new home builders could use that and why they
Yeah.
would want to use it. So let's talk about the consumer, though. Did I describe what I just described that fairly accurate, or even?
Yeah, that's a part of it.
Okay.
So the visual documentation is one aspect of it,
Mhm.
and it's a very important aspect of
Mhm.
it. It's not the only purpose of us coming in and scanning.
Mhm.
We're using multiple different technologies, and we're measuring your house. We're getting the dimensions inside and outside. All this dimensional data, as well as the images, are important for insurance to help with, knowing the size of your property for valuations. But also when it comes to the claims, the adjuster is creating an estimate of repairs on your property. It's all based off of the measurements. So when they're coming in, they're usually using maybe a laser or a tape measure, things like that, and they're trying to measure out your house. And by us doing this, it's more accurate. It has all the specs inside and out of your house. It helps remove that room for error. They're 7% accurate on the measurements that we use with these lasers and LiDAR. So we're collecting the dimensional data, the visual. So anything that is readily apparent personal property that is setting around within the virtual tour. We also do aerial imaging and AI assessments of the roof and the property from above. We can assess over 130 different things from the air. People don't realize there's airplanes flying over several times a year documenting things. They can tell you if you have a missing shingle, what type of material you have, if there's vegetation overhang, a swimming pool, anything like that. So we provide that information to you. So you have some access to the same information that the insurance providers. We're collecting some ages of different things on your house, other things that's required for underwriting and claims. So we've compiled what is necessary to be the most efficient. When you have this information, you provide it to your agent or broker. They have exactly what they need to provide you a quote to underwrite your policy, provide your coverage accurately. And then when you have a claim, a majority of your claim is done by having all this information up front. So now they just need to know what is damaged on your property. They have all the measurements. They know what it looked like before. There's no disputes of going back and forth. Well, this is pre-existing. Well, no, it wasn't. Or I had this. Or, imagine if your house burns to the ground. Are you going to remember everything that was in your home? Are you
No.
going to have, what are they going to measure? What are they going to use to base their estimates and stuff off of? It becomes a challenge. And then you have to sit down with your adjuster while your home is a few days after your home's in ashes and go through and tell them what you had in your home and justify your coverage and prove what you had in your home. This is happening, as you know, it's like crazy out west. People's home, there's been so many wildfires and, or
And
your home blows away in a tornado or washes away in a flood. You have to remember and justify what you have and prove it.
And you're not thinking about that at all when your insurance at all. You're
Yeah.
not thinking that my house might get beat up, but you're not thinking it could go away. It does
Until it does.
Then you got real problems because it's all a memory. And you think, well, maybe they can go go find the blueprints for the house. That
Yeah.
ain't happening because also many old houses around. The people wouldn't even know where to go begin finding the blueprints for their house.
And blueprints are out of date the moment the
Yeah.
house is finished. They've
Yeah.
changed some. They're
Yeah.
never the same when the house is
Yeah.
actually finished. There's been so many changes.
That's
But ultimately,
wow.
this is the foundation. What we're doing is the foundation of everything that insurance is based off of. Your coverage is based off of your property data. Yet nobody knows their property data. So they're using, they're making general assessments of information, taking this general information to try to assess and provide you proper coverage.
Mm.
And then on the claim side, if you're, it's
So
they
you
don't have a solid reference point throughout this entire process. They're using third party, fourth party, fifth party information, stuff from Zillow or, just random information that they can find to try to properly either assess your property and write your coverage or do the claim.
So once the customer has everything scanned and inventoried of their house through your technology, they bring in that document. You create a document for them. They're bringing that to their insurance company to put that on file, on record.
If they will put it on file for you, otherwise you're holding on to it until
Okay.
you have a claim. Then you
Okay.
want to share it with your agent. You want to share it with your adjuster. You'll become your
Gotcha.
adjuster's favorite person because you made their job a million times easier by having all this information. But it doesn't need to sit on a shelf waiting for insurance. If you're getting a new roof or new
Mhm.
siding or something like that, you have all the specs on your home. So
Wow.
when you're talking to maybe 10 different roofers, we can come out and look in a week or 10 days. We can give you a quote. And the other one's
Okay.
like 5 days or whatever. You can send them the information. Here's the information on my roof. What's the quote? And they can tell you immediately. And it also helps create transparency in that process because if someone tells you you need 25 shingle or 25 squares to replace
Mhm.
your roof, you're like, no, I need 20. Here's my
Mhm.
data. I have the
Mhm.
information. You know the square footage on your siding, your windows, all your opening, doorways,
Everything.
windows, all that stuff. You have it all. So if you're doing some renovations, remodeling, anything like that, and this is just on the commercial or on the residential side, then the commercial side goes
Yeah.
to where we were talking about earlier, more on the safety side of things. We can go into that now or later.
Yeah. Let's go into that a little bit because that's interesting too. Because I see that for liability reasons, for a lot of other reasons beyond just the insurance claim, and for preventive maintenance type reasons.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you could share to the people listening, what does that mean?
Yeah, so there's a couple on the commercial side. It could relate to residential as well, but on the commercial side, commercial clients like this information because it does a couple different things for them. It lays out everything for them so they know, for example, let's say it's a thing that needs routine maintenance. One thing that needs routine maintenance and inspections is fire emergency equipment,
Mhm.
fire extinguishers, all that type of stuff. By collecting all the data when we're on site, we're creating these floor plans and all this data that we can then take and create specialized maps or floor plans of that property that
Mhm.
shows where all of this equipment is located throughout the
Mhm.
property. So whenever you have, whether it's someone from your team or you have an inspector, fire chief, or somebody coming out to your property to do an inspection, here's the map of the facility. This is where everything is located. And there you go. We did this with a school district,
Yeah.
and they have to have their water source inspected every year. Every type of water source in 20 something buildings of this school district. That inspection time for this vendor to come in was at 7 days or more.
Mhm.
And by doing this, it cut that to a day and a half
Wow.
just by everyone knowing where everything was located.
Wow.
Then the other side of that is the safety and critical response side.
Yeah.
So we create these specialized reports and maps of those properties where all the equipment is, how to shut the water off or the gas off. Okay,
And,
so like on the maintenance, well, I'll start again on the maintenance
sure.
and the kind of operations side of
Okay.
things. So by us collecting this information, by creating these floor plans and coming on site, we're able to also notate where specific things are. For example, emergency equipment in a structure. We can have these maps or these floor plans that identifies where everything is located throughout the facility. Well, all your fire extinguishers, your riser rooms for sprinkler, fire suppression systems, anything that needs routine inspection can be identified, and we can have specialized maps for the different types of things. There's a school district we did. They have 20 something buildings. All their water sources have to be inspected annually. It cut that time from 7 days to a day and a half by being able
Wow.
to identify all the different sources, where they're located, and what the types are. This same information, we can compile what is necessary for emergency responders. So we can identify where all the emergency shutoffs are for electric, water, gas,
Big.
things like that on there. We can share the floor plans where all this equipment or all these things are located. And even if the property owner wants a virtual tour of the facility, so if you think about a school district, how helpful is it for emergency responders to have all the floor plans, to know where everything is located, emergency shutoffs, have a virtual tour of the facility that they potentially train on and familiarize themselves with this property. So whenever they're responding, they know exactly where everything is located, exactly where to turn off if there's a fire, where to turn off the gas if there's a water break or something like that, where to turn off the water to prevent further damage, which happens all the time. Recently, there was, I think it was a hotel, and they couldn't find the gas shut off. Part of the
Wow.
building blew up because they couldn't find the gas shut off.
You're not just preventing more damage, you're saving lives.
I mean, some of these incidents that have happened in schools in the past, people didn't go in right away because one of the reasons they didn't go in right away is they didn't really know where they were going when they went in. And then they knew the people coming behind to back them up didn't really know where they were going when they were going in. So unless you have
Yeah.
this information, it's hard to just go in somewhere without knowing where you're going or what's ahead. If you have this information, you know every aspect of the facility.
So this is just as critical as we helped out the homeowner. This is really helping out, certainly helping businesses.
On this same school district, by us having this information, they had a major hailstorm there. So it increased the settlement from that hailstorm from 400,000 to 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So that was $1.1 million they were now not out of pocket because we increased the accuracy of that claim and that insurance process.
Well, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
That's real world. That's real world
Yeah.
results.
But
significant
really,
results.
But one of the things they said is they love being able to use the information daily, not just when there's insurance claim or something like that, but they can use it, their SROs or their security teams can use it, daily maintenance, all this stuff. They can use the information because it all comes from the same data foundation for insurance, for safety, for maintenance and operations. It's all coming from the same foundation of data, and we're just adapting it for that specific scenario.
And when I saw the maps that you had, they were like on vinyl too, which was really they were heavy. I'm like, it made sense. I'm a layman, and I'm able to look at this. I'm like, I could almost navigate exactly where I needed to go based on the way you put it together. It made it so easy. And for those guys who are pros, they know what they're looking for. That makes they're not flying blind, which is amazing. Wow.
I didn't even realize that firefighters, they want to know which way the doors open because when there's smoke, and if they're crawling across the floor or something like that, they know to push instead of pull or pull instead of push, things like that.
So
There's
simple.
little things you don't realize, but it's important.
Life-saving things too in that scenario. Okay, and let's talk about one more marketing piece from a marketing standpoint, because I love the marketing. You were talking about how you can map new construction for like a home builder building building however many houses, and the homeowner will know exactly where the pipes are in his house, the electric lines are in their house, all the things that are in the house, and the builder can use it to protect himself. If I'm saying things wrong, protect themselves from liabilities, showing okay, we did these things correctly, right?
Yeah.
It's all there, and then the homeowner also has from a marketing standpoint, the homeowner is like, oh wow, I have all this information I never had before buying a house. So that's a great marketing tool. Did I describe that service correctly?
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's two parts to the kind of the marketing side.
Okay.
First part is if it's a business or say it's a home and it's a vacation rental, we are a byproduct of us collecting all this dimensional data on a facility creates a virtual tour.
Wow.
That virtual tour can be turned into a marketing virtual tour that
wow.
you can share and show off your property or your business, show off your lobby, wherever you want the public to see. You can adapt it to that. So you can literally use it as a marketing virtual tour. You can tie it into Google Street View. So you're walking from Google Streets, view, you can walk right into it and go into the virtual tour of your facility. So we're working with builders to where what it is. So it's called a rough-in virtual tour. So rough-in is before you put up like your sheet rock in your wall. So everything all your wiring, plumbing, all that type of stuff is done. The
Mhm.
walls just haven't been put up yet. So the sheetrock hasn't been put up yet. So we do a virtual tour of that facility so you can see inside the walls. You can
Cool.
see where everything, like you were saying, where everything is located, your wiring, plumbing, water, all that type of stuff. And then we're doing a finished virtual tour. So then you have everything finished. So you have that moment captured of what everything looks like, all the finishes. So that does a few things. It helps the builder also whenever you can see inside the wall for warranty reasons and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
It helps that property owner down the road, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or it's 2 property owners later, and they have an issue with that, with a leak in the wall or some wiring, they can have access to those virtual tours, and they can literally look inside their wall 10, 15 years later and
Wow.
know where everything is located and have
Almost
access to that initial data. That general data on that property will pass on with that address.
when you all went down this road, and it started with the insurance piece, correct? Okay. Did you all envision doing this other thing on the back end?
No, the other things just kind of appeared out of nowhere while we were doing it. The people were like, "Oh, well, this would help me with this and that and this and this and this and this." And
Wow.
but it still all kind of ties back into insurance, or it's all there to protect the property. That's kind of the purpose and that property owner.
That's fantastic. How do people, if somebody wants to use your service, or whichever one, obviously we started with the homeowner looking at it. So the homeowner is one customer, and then you got the business side. How do people find you? What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
You can go on to forefront360.com.
Okay.
You can, contact us through there. I'm more than welcome for people to reach out to me at
Mhm.
Jonathan, Jonathan at forefront360.com or info@forefront360.com.
Okay.
Then more than happy to point you in the right direction or get you taken care of, answer any questions, anything like that.
Fantastic.
I will add one
No,
more
please,
thing.
please do.
We're not only helping policyholders, we are also helping insurance providers. So the way we're doing this is by creating this accuracy and efficiency. They're making sure that they are properly insuring people.
Hmm.
We're reducing what's called the claim carrying costs. So the costs it takes for them to process and close a claim, which right now is a very long process, and it's very expensive for them to have a claim open and have people constantly touching these files and dealing with this stuff. So we're reducing their risk. We're making the whole process more efficient. So we're reducing their costs. And that was our whole purpose. We're not just here to help policyholders or help insurance providers. We're here to help the process and make it more efficient overall. So helping everybody. And if we can increase the efficiency of the insurance process, hopefully down the road, we can start reducing the cost to have insurance.
A goal, knowing what my insurance was, and you can ask anybody around the city of New Orleans or along the Gulf Coast what their insurance was 20 years ago. As we come up on August 29th, which is 20 years since
Yeah.
Katrina.
And it's
It's like,
crucial right now because this year alone, we're losing 400,000 property and casualty insurance employees. The workforce is in the process of retiring. Over the next few years, we're losing, I can't remember, it's like 50% of the workforce. And there's not enough people coming in and replacing those positions.
wow.
It's becoming a big, all that knowledge base
Mhm.
leaving, there's just
Mhm.
nobody there. So the process has to become more efficient. And that's why we're utilizing technology and AI and different things to do it the most affordable and efficient way possible that is going to help. Because, with that said, this is the most crucial time for a policy holder to make sure they are taking action because
Mhm.
you're going to leave your property in the hands of the insurance companies that are losing their workforce. It's a bad time to do that. So you need to take charge. And that's where we're trying to empower policyholders and make sure they have more control over the outcome.
That's good to know because that's not going to solve itself quickly. That
No, no.
issue. No.
Really, technology is the only way we're going to take care of that.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a pleasure. Forefront360.com. Get in touch with Jonathan. I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Joel.
Absolutely. A wrap with Jonathan. He's certainly providing a a service to help anyone who's been down this road, knows the challenges of fighting with your insurance company to get a claim uh, done correctly, fairly. And his process can help preempt some of those issues without a question. So you're arming yourself, you're helping defend for yourself in advance, if you will. So I appreciate you being here, especially for all of you who've stuck to the very end. You've gone from the disruptors to the closers. And you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day. Bye bye.